For those who don't know, Otome games are visual novels with romance options usually aimed at women. Typically, you explore a relatively deep story from the perspective of a female, and sometimes, but not always, have the option to romance a large cast of male characters. When I started this channel, part of my mission statement was to try new things and to give them fair and honest reviews. I like to think I've made a pretty honest attempt of this so far, and today I'll be stepping the furthest outside of my target demographic I think I've ever been. Clearly, Otome games are not made for me. I am a straight male, but I do firmly believe in trying everything at least once, so today we are going to talk about my first Otome game.
Tarks Gauntlet.
Hakuoki Kyoto Winds is a 2017 remake of a PS3 and 3DS title. In this game, you play as a character named Chizuru. I am not going to be able to pronounce a lot of these names, or even the name of this game, too well, so please just bear with me. Your father is a doctor who left home to work abroad. He made a promise to keep in contact with Chizuru while he was gone. For a long time, he'd done this and sent her mail every day. However, one day, the letters stopped coming and Chizuru got worried. As the game starts, you are disguised as a man going through a rough and foreign city in search of your father. The disguise was meant to keep you safe in this dangerous city, however, it doesn't take long for trouble to find you. Humanoid demons turn on you, and when all seems lost, you are saved by the Shinsengumi. The Shinsengumi are a small faction of samurai with many secrets to hide. You are taken back to their base to undergo interrogation. When it's discovered you are the doctor's daughter, the Shinsengumi allow you to stay on their base, as they too are looking for your father, and you would be a fine bargaining chip. As the game continues, the secrets of the Shinsengumi unravel. The characters and yourself all get caught in a very messy political narrative, which almost unbelievably stays directly in line with real political history. This story spans years, and over the years you will grow closer to the Shinsengumi. They will see you as more than just a bargaining chip, but still not quite as one of their own. Romancing is an option in this game, and will ultimately be some of your only story-changing mechanics. To get all routes without skipping anything could take well over 60 to 70 hours, but a single playthrough can be done between 8 to 12 hours. At least I believe 8 to 12 hours. The game doesn't actually keep track of how long you've been playing. Perhaps it's my lack of women's intuition, but I didn't know how I felt about the male cast I was supposed to romance. I found myself gravitating towards Hijikata, Harada, and Heisuki, the three H's. However, none of them really felt like a perfect choice despite there being a large cast of 12 to choose from. Almost all of them that at least seemed promising at first ended up having a layer of narcissism or egotism behind them. Almost all of them seemed to be jerks at one point or another. I guess this makes me feel more firmly rooted in reality than I'm used to. Most of us men can be jerks from time to time, that's undeniable. I'd be down for a little more fantasy men in a game like this. Hell, let's just cast a wide net, throw in some BL, give some of those other women something real to swoon over. Overall, the romance options didn't really feel like they went that far, but I'll get onto why later. The visuals in this game are fantastic, but there is no legitimate animation. This is a visual novel through and through, or maybe best described as a kinetic novel. The music is a mixed bag, some of it amazingly cinematic, some of it beautifully traditional, some of it, well, many visual novel games are kind of budget releases for lack of a better word, and they show budget in almost every category, in the art, in the sound design, and in the music. And in a way, visual novels kind of have this characteristic music behind them that just sounds kind of cheap and kind of cheesy. Now that's a quality some people might enjoy, but for me it does always just come off sounding a little corny, and this game does have a little bit of that as well. But for the most part, the music is great. The voice acting too is superb, but if there is some voices you personally find annoying, the game has a feature that Akiba's Beat could have totally benefited from, and that's the option to turn off or turn down any voice you want individually. Now, I mentioned this is a remake for the PS Vita, so let's get into what's changed. The game goes beyond simply upping some visuals and re-releasing. The game reworks a lot of the imagery and adds new characters to the story. To facilitate this, the old scenes have been reworked to include these characters. Also, not only can you romance these new characters, but old characters that could not be romanced before are now an option. So there is a lot for returning players to this game. The game is compatible with the PS TV, so if that's all you have, count yourself included. And there's also touchscreen compatibility. Simply touching the screen will progress dialogue, but specific swipes and motions work like hotkeys for quick saves, loads, and other features. The only problem with this is, I couldn't find anywhere in the game's options menu to tell you what swipes do what. One misstep I found was in the auto mode. With visual novels, I tend to leave auto mode on, and when using auto, there's this large icon and design put around the border of the game. It's distracting and kinda pointless. I don't need a reminder that the game is in auto. If it's going on its own, I think that says it just fine. Now, I talked about this having an amazingly deep political story, and I won't lie, while this isn't the exact kind of game I'd like to play as a man myself, I was really engrossed with the narrative. But just as the story gets going, it ends. This is why I feel the romancing options didn't go as far as they should have. This game is a remake and expansion of an older game, but this is only the first half. The game is split into 2 parts, and to get the full game you will need to do an additional purchase, and the game isn't exactly cheap. While I can safely say Otomes aren't my kind of game, as I lack almost all the necessary intuition to get the most out of it, I do think this is a really strong and really competent game, and would be great for those interested in Otomes. And if this speaks on behalf of the quality of storytelling, I do fully intend on getting the second game when it releases and completing the story. At the very least, I'd like to complete the routes I set out on just to see how far these romances go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my first Otome experience. Unfortunately, it wasn't a full one, but it wasn't a bad one. I know this won't appeal to most of my audience, but I mean, just look at this metric. That's pretty bad, but I kinda brought it on myself, so I get it. I hope you appreciate the honest review, and I intend on stepping more out of my comfort zone and trying new things as this channel goes along. As always, guys, thanks for all the support, and thanks for watching.